Hello and welcome to Building Your T-Shirt Empire. My name is Cole and with me as always is Gavin. This week we have an awesome new person to speak with. It's Matt Marcotte from Every Business on the Planet. Matt has been doing some incredible stuff with Screen Print GPT. He works inside of Printavo. He has a new project called Stream. And there's just a lot of opportunities to pick his brain on not only AI and software and things like that, but also how he's helping the network work together to increase everyone's sales. So, Matt, thanks so much for being on. Give us kind of a quick introduction into what it is you're working on nowadays.
Yeah, hey, thank you so much. Really excited to be here with you guys. Definitely know you both in the industry and appreciate what y'all are doing and helping bring to the industry as well. So, kind of like you alluded to, Matt Marcotte, right? Doing a couple different things. Like I said, I do work full time with Printavo as an implementation manager. And when I took that job, it kind of really opened up some opportunity and things I was looking at when it came to software and a different muscle that I had not really ever worked on before, right? I've run print shops, had never really been on the software side of things. And right around the same time I joined Printavo, I started working with some business partners on another software that we were building. So going on almost 5 years now, we've been working on this thing called Stream. Originally, it was actually called DecoFlow. DecoFlow is now actually the name of that company that my two business partners and I own. And then Stream is one of the products within that company. So what Stream is and what we're launching here is a platform. Think of it like rideshare, but for direct-to-film transfers, right? We're seeing a lot of online forums, Facebook, which I have a lot of opinions about Facebook, but a lot of people going to Facebook and they're in need, right? They're in need of, okay, I'm looking for these transfers, and there's nothing wrong with the heavy hitters. I'm close friends and fans of Supercolor, Howard. I don't know the people at Ninja, but they seem great. Big fan of what everybody's doing. I think it's important to take care of the industry and to be those big guys too. But what we're seeing is that there's also a small market, right? There's people that go to the DTF Expo or go to the DAX shows, and they're buying these DTF units, and they can produce. They might not have the ad spend availability as those other big players have, right? So people are going into Facebook forums, and they're asking who can do these jobs. And then the shops are kind of like begging for attention in that spot to try to get that job and land that job, right? Mm-hmm. Then it turns into a bit of a price war. Well, I'll do it for 10 cents cheaper, or I'll do it for 20 cents cheaper. And it turns into that classic race to the bottom. What we always hate that. We see it already with screen printing, right? So what we've created is a platform where there's two user types. I need transfers. I can make transfers, right? And so right now we're in a closed beta with a few dozen shops. It's working great. We're going into public beta here within the next week or two. And really, it's as simple as that. If you need to order transfers, you'll go on, you'll upload your arts. We'll kind of tell you what the resolution is. You can let us know how many you need. You click purchase and you buy right then. You put your credit card in, you buy right then. It will then open up to a 50-mile radius of where the shipping back to, with the transfers are going to ship back to. So it'll actually go to your local market. So if you're bringing them back to you, it's going to go to your local market. If you're shipping them across the country, you can go to that local market or choose your local market, and it'll go to them. It'll ping everybody that's the other user type that said, I can do DTF transfers. They'll create a free account. They'll agree to the terms and conditions and quality. It's a lot of what we've been testing for the last couple of weeks of making sure the quality coming in from different shops are good. So they'll make sure they can agree to all those terms and conditions. Once they print them and ship them, once it shows it's tracked and shipping, we release the funds to that shop, letting them get paid right then. It'll then get delivered back to the actual user who's going to heat press them on whatever they're going to do. Mm-hmm. To make sure the work doesn't stay in the stream too long, every 15 minutes, if it's not picked up by somebody in that 50-mile radius, it opens up another 50. And so on until it becomes a full country radius to assure someone's going to pick that job up for you and get it produced. We're trying to make sure it stays within that closer radius to guarantee if they ship it later that day or the next day, then you get it sooner, right? Working with some of those other big companies too to kind of be an insurance policy to maybe have some of those big guys actually help scoop work up if it goes too long in that process too. So really, like you need an Uber, you call an Uber, they show up, they take you. We're bringing the rideshare model to DTF.
That's very cool. I like the idea of feeding jobs to people who obviously aren't going to have the same kind of marketing strategy or the same sales base. One thing I got to ask is just the immediate thing that comes to mind, because I've experienced so many different transfer companies at this point, and I've even just watched the evolution of people like Supercolor improve their formula, or even just like the difference between an Omni print machine and a Supercolor machine and a Plastisol screen printed transfer is like wildly different in application. Is there going to be a system in place so that people know what to expect quality wise when it's received, and also times and temperatures? Because one of the benefits of getting really used to like Supercolor is that you at least know how to always use their thing. There's no experimenting.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So part of the onboarding process that we're working through with making sure we get everybody onboarded correctly is the decorators are going to have to make sure to let us know what kind of film they're using, right? Is it a hot peel? Is it a cold peel? What are the actual heat pressing instructions, temp, time, all that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
That will then be delivered via a PDF and an email to the actual purchaser of those, saying these are your times and temperatures for heat pressing. That way, you're not like kind of left up with what am I going to do? And it can be different from each. What we're finding so far is that the quality between the ones we've tested so far, not massively different, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will say when you go to some of those big heavy hitters that probably have a little bit more time and money to spend into product, right? Theirs are going to be different. A lot of what we're noticing is a lot of the shops that are doing it now, they've bought newer equipment and it's all pretty good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, art plays a big factor, right? If I'm trying to do a DTF of a giant box, it's going to feel like garbage, guys, right? But I would also say that a giant screen printed heavy box of like a white underbase and a couple top colors, probably not going to feel great either, right? So obviously, with all things, art definitely plays a role in that too. But we're going to learn as we go. We're going to see what new things kind of pop up. But so far, we've been really impressed with the quality. And again, that's what we've been kind of doing now, as opposed to just going straight to a public beta, is
Mm-hmm.
we're really babysitting it to make sure that the experience is intuitive and that the product quality isn't going to be such that people use it once and then leave. Part of this too is we're going to have that Uber review thing, right? So if you get it in and you're like, they were all right. The color could be a little bit better over here. You can feel free to give them a 4-star, right? But if it's pretty dang close, don't be rude. Give them the full 5-star. But just like with Uber, if they get into a car accident, like you're talking to Uber and they're going to give you something to make it right. Same thing's going to apply here. If something's like drastically off, we at Stream are going to get involved and make sure that you are taken care of. Especially as we're scaling and we're starting to create more of these standards, right? We don't know either. So we're going to grow this together with the users, both the DTF makers and the consumers.
Man,
Very cool.
that's awesome, man. I've run into Matt, different industry event, seen you online probably 3-4 years ago when you came into my sphere. I would love for people to get to. I know a little bit about your background, but if somebody's listening right now, why Matt and why Stream and how did you end up getting here?
Yeah. So it all goes back to the day I was born. So realistically, it actually starts when I was in my early teens. I grew up lower middle class family, like I think a lot of us did, right? And just trying to be cool, trying to fit in, and couldn't afford the band T-shirts that I wanted. And so I started using bleach and tape and spray and kind of like making T-shirts and making shirts that I thought were cool. And then started getting into screen printing in my early teens too. Literally had tinfoil over my windows to block the sunlight getting in my bedroom. Had a yellow bug light that made my room a dark room. Would expose with like a big old halogen bulb, take it to the bathroom in the shower, and reclaim the screens that way. I started off young because I was really into the idea of making my own stuff that I thought was cool for me, and kind of ignoring not being able to buy what everybody else was saying was cool, right? Going into high school, got into being in bands like a lot of us did, started making my own merch for the bands I was in, and then went to college and was all like cocky, like I've been screen printing for years. I'm going to take screen printing, right? So focused as a major at Bachelor's in Science in Instructional Design. I love teaching. I love learning. I love the learning psychology, using technology to help learning, and then focus on a double minor in serigraphy and graphic design. So went into serigraphy courses like, I'm a screen printer already. I print apparel all the time, to fine art, flat stock, real artists, right?
Yeah.
And got my ass handed to me. Was like, I'm an idiot. I don't know anything. And then ended up spending 5 years in college and taking 5 years of screen printing classes in there as well. The professor, Susan Chakowski, probably one of the most influential people in my entire life. I owe so much of my career to her. She was a master printer for Roy Lichtenstein. For those of you art nerds out there, you know who that is. Yeah. So for those of you who don't, if you've ever seen those big exaggerated like comic book looking things, those giant halftones, that's Roy Lichtenstein. So she was a master printer for him for quite some time. And she saw something special in doofy me and took it upon herself to really, really help me. And so really got a whole different appreciation for the art of serigraphy, understanding a lot more about color theory, understanding much higher resolution and poster printing. No offense to everybody that's a screen printer. I'm a screen printer too. A high-end poster printer is better than the best t-shirt printer out there. It's a different game to play, right? You've got a very forgiving substrate on apparel. You don't when it comes to flat stock, right? You want to print a 10 color t-shirt, it's around a big press once. You want to print a 10 color poster, it's one color, let it dry, one color, let it dry. That means it's a register it every single time. It's a whole different ballpark. So learned a lot in that time. Toured with some buddies' bands, doing merch, selling screen printed posters and apparel. And then ended up hitting a spot where I'm like out of college and okay, I've toured a good part of the country, some friends' bands, had a lot of fun. I got to get a real job. Like I just did the whole college thing. Like I gotta go do something. So I ended up getting a job at working in sales, customer service and sales at a large screen printing operation that was all contract. 8 autos. When I started, it was 8 autos and 2 manuals, and I want to say 12 heads of embroidery. They were actually doing a job for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles through, I don't know who it was, through one of the different licensees. And I was like month 2 in, I'd already taken over the biggest accounts, printing for Threadless. I was the liaison for Threadless, Warner Brothers, some of these other bigger accounts. And they were having an issue with a water-based print that was like 10,000 shirts, and it was just closing up. They were having issues. Mm-hmm. This is talking 2010, there wasn't necessarily as much help as there is now with water-based printing, right? So I just go to Walgreens, get some glycerin, go back out to the back of the print shop and put a drop or 2 of glycerin into the screen. And they printed the next like 3,000 shirts with no issues. I thought I was helping. Unfortunately, that helping led to them canning the production manager that was there at the time. Oh, I was literally just trying to help, and they threw me into that seat.
Yeah.
So I'm like 23 and just took someone's job who'd been there for like 15 years. Him and I made amends. He actually runs another great shop. He's a fantastic human. I think it was better for him to actually leave that shop too. It kind of opened up his opportunities. And I immediately was thrown to the wolves though. I had, there was at the time like 80 employees. And I'll be honest with you guys, they immediately stopped speaking English just like that because the new young college graduate just took their buddy's job. Right. So I was thrown to the wolves and I spent the next 6 years there, 5 years there, working my butt off, gaining their respect the hard way, the right way, getting in the trenches, doing it, learning from them, teaching them, building processes, making it sustainable, being a production manager and an operations manager and actually learning it the hard way. Right. Hit a spot where I kind of felt I was ceiling there. And I also want to give a shout out to Humberto from M&R. I don't know if you guys know who Humberto is, but he was the M&R rep that would come into the shop I was at. I was one of the first shops to try out M&R's eye image. It was called the eye screen. It was an up and down unit. We nicknamed it the eye scream because we never got it to work. Alex Mammoser, who worked at M&R at the time, who was like living at that shop for like 6 months trying to make it go. So him and I met around 2010, 2011, and we're like futzing with this thing way back then to try to get direct to screen from M&R to work. But a couple of people at M&R, Umberto, the former owner, Rich Hoffman, they'd always pull me aside and be like, dude, you're too good for this place. You got to move up, get out of here. Like, get out of the burbs. Like, come on, you got to go. And it was 8 auto, 6 manual, like 40 heads of embroidery at the time, and a laser. Like we had grown. It was big, 2 shifts. And I kind of was just like, well, no, I'm working my butt off. I'm doing the right thing. And I kind of realized, yeah, I don't want to stay living in the burbs and just running the shop. I do want to like go to the next level and learn more. So I do want to give props to them for kind of coaching me to honestly kind of grow a pair, right? And decide like, okay, I can control my destiny. I don't have to just say, well, this is what I'm going to keep doing. And so I went to a company called T&J. Sid Tabor, fantastic human being. I had already started buying supplies from him. He was formerly at M&R, fantastic human. He hired me as a salesperson, and I told him I didn't want to do sales. And he's like, great, I don't want you to do sales. I want you to be the nerd that you are. And I was like, thank you, I think. And he was right. I spent the next handful of years traveling the Midwest and just going to every single print shop I either drove past or found online or whatever database we had. And I would just kind of walk in and offer my help and ask if they needed anything. And oftentimes was told like, I've been printing longer than you've been alive. Get out of the shop. Right. And then maybe 3 times later of me showing up, they'd be like, all right, hotshot, how about this? And then I'd be able to solve that. And it would slowly start to grow until I had a really good book of business. And unfortunately, Sid Tabor found out that he had brain cancer and had to rapidly find a replacement within 48 hours. A gentleman named Dave Eggers took over, and Sid fought the good fight, went into brain surgery, went into a whole bunch of different chemo. Unfortunately, he did lose the battle to cancer, as many do. So spent years at T&J. I don't know if you guys know who Multicraft Daddy is, but that's Dave Eggers, right? So he kind of came in, didn't know anything about the screen printing industry, and was now my boss. So I gave him a good hard time. Was kind of like, I don't know, you get out of my way. That's why him and I got along. So he was like, all right, I like you. You don't seem to care. Okay. And so we get along great. Taught him a lot. I learned a lot about business from him as well. During that time, I had also decided I want to start my own screen printing shop. I was doing gig posters for local bands and for different venues here in Chicago. We made our own flat top vacuum bed. Started doing that. One of my best friends for most of my life now, his name is Mike. He was helping me. We were printing posters literally in his garage, and like it got so bad one summer that like all 100 poster prints we delivered to the Metro had like 1 or 2 mosquitoes in the ink. Just because we were like printing in his garage, and like it's just like we got to get a real shop. We can't keep turning bugs in. So we grew the shop out. He runs the shop. He's co-owner in it. And so even back in the T&J days, I kind of started off Sound and Fury into our small first facility and let him really run it day to day. And then I'm able to kind of help out with like supplies, know-how, taught him how to screen print. He can print circles around me now. Dude's phenomenal. So kind of just got into the habit of like, okay, I can have a full-time job and I can have a side thing that's kind of fun to watch it grow. And so that kind of started this whole idea of like, if I'm going to spend time on something, it's going to be to create something and see if it can turn into more. A lot of people like to play video games. That's awesome. A lot of people like to take up different hobbies. My hobby is kind of like, all right, let's learn something new and try to make a business out of it and see what happens. Just because why not, right? So yeah, ended up working in sales and consulting for years at T&J. Went back into production management at a large facility. Then COVID happened, and I made the jump over to Printavo. I've been working with the Printavo boys for quite some time. When I was selling supplies and equipment across the Midwest, I was one of the first outside salespeople for Printavo because I was in the shops. They're also Chicago-based originally. So kind of got in front of Printavo and was showing shops how to use Printavo, how to organize their day, consulting with shops. And then it just kind of seemed like the natural next step when COVID hit. I was like, all right, I don't want to run a shop again, especially during COVID times. So made the jump and been there since and learned a ton. So that was a long answer to a short question, Gavin. That's kind of how I came to be who I am now. Who I am now is also because of all the shops that shared who they are and what they are. Um, I've been in easily at least 700 print shops physically
Oh, wow.
across my career. And then with Printavo, getting to work with thousands of shops remotely as well. So really, I want to hats off to everybody who I've ever spoken to in the industry that's helped guide me, teach me, because really it's that whole thing. You stand on the shoulders of giants, right? I mean, a lot of the things I pick up or do and learn, it's because somebody else has already showed me how they got to that spot. So when you don't have to start at the starting line, it's a little easier to hit a finish line, right? So definitely a lot of compounded knowledge that has been shared with me by experts, print shops, everything along the way.
You said the story was long, but you actually just unlocked something for me. I can't say it out loud publicly just yet. But it was one thing that you said that you just unlocked. I'll let you know soon. I'll send you a quick message.
All right, I'm intrigued.
That was awesome.
Well, other than Gavin's secrets, what is with all that experience with all those shops? Like we just came back from Shirt Lab, and what was really interesting to me at Shirt Lab was I was talking to people like Shane at Stoked On, where like they're doing really great. If anything, they can now expand again in the near future. They actually haven't been open that many years, really. And then I'm also talking to people that have been in it for 8 years, 10 years, and honestly, on paper in a conversation, they know every single answer to all the workflow, all the order flow. They know how to land an order. But like one is doing 410,000 a year in revenue. And the other one's doing, I don't know, definitely 5 plus. And when you've been seeing all these shops, like there's perfectly fine small shops that just don't understand breaking through. What have you seen is the difference there? Because everyone can burn a screen, everyone can make a t-shirt. Now with DTF, everyone can make any design. Like, what is that difference in a shop that's blatantly growing and one that's just a static local shop?
Easy answer there is managing, right? So managing process, expectations, ideas, potential. One thing that I think I see people getting caught up in a little too much that oftentimes drives the bus into the ravine as opposed to just down the road is the idea that you have to grow, right? Mm-hmm. Growth it can mean a lot of different things. I think for a lot of shops, they like to try to look at their peers, look at who they admire and respect, and they say, well, this person seems to be doing financially great. They drive a nice car. They've got 4 autos. So I've only got 1. Okay, I got to get to 4 and then I'll be happy. No, false. You'll be happy when you set your expectations for what you want your business to do and you create a model that is sustainable and actually has profit for you. It doesn't mean you need to keep growing the size of your business or necessarily even massively have bigger amount of sales year over year, right? If you have a decently static line of sales where every year you get the same number, but every year you spend less to get it, well, that's more profit, right? If you're getting better at what you're doing. So the biggest thing that I've noticed is the shops that either are big and doing well or small or doing well is because they actually have a plan and a process and they actually understand what they're trying to do in their business. And it's not always just chasing what some people's perception of growth might be. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we all want to make more money, and oftentimes that might be if we do open up our scale and our scalability. But I've heard so many consultants say it, and I will agree that sometimes some of the happiest shop owners I've seen are usually under 3 automatics, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I've known plenty of shop owners that own like the massive shops, and they seem pretty happy too. There's a lot of space between that 3 auto to like the 20 auto, right? So it's just a matter of what lifestyle do you want as a business owner? What culture do you want to create in the business that you own? And then how do you fill your cup? Not just how do you fill your wallet? How do you fill your cup, right? So what actually what makes you feel good about what you're doing? Like if you're finding yourself printing in a niche that like you don't care about, it kind of like kills your soul to go outside and you look at your press and be like, okay, don't care. Right. So align who you are with what you are and what you want to do and go after that. Don't be afraid to go after it and start to print stuff you like to do. Sometimes that alone can mean growth. You've grown into printing stuff that you like. Maybe you're not filling your pocketbook as much as you'd like, but your cup's being filled and your pocketbook's being taken care of too, right? So it's just a matter of figuring out who you are and what you really want and then managing it. That's the biggest thing I think I've seen in those shops is the reactive people. They're not managing it. It doesn't matter if they're small or big. And I've seen successful shops that are small and shops that are big and medium sizes, right? It's just a matter of managing expectations, the process, the culture, and knowing what your growth as a person is, not just your growth as a business.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could appreciate that answer. I consider myself to be a manager. That's really what I bring to the table. And a lot of time folks, they just don't give that the value that it requires, right? Especially in a business setting. Cause I remember this conversation I had with another shop owner, and shop owners like running around, business is growing, but it's complete chaos. And they was literally about to kill themselves because they're trying to chase everything. And I'm coming in just like, yeah, there's not a strategy here to run the business. That's not a strategy you don't have a purpose for your life. Where is the end goal? What it is that you personally getting out of this? If you don't have that conversation first and then set your business to feed what you need, you're just like a chicken with its head cut off.
Yep.
So management of a business is, and not every shop owner is going to be a good manager. If you're not, you need to get people around you that could manage, people around you that understand how to work with people, how to build system, and how to like move things forward and controlling things. So yeah, I definitely appreciate that answer.
I want to
Yeah, I
get
agree.
into
Curious to what Cole, what do you've been with a lot of shops too. What do you think is the main differentiator there?
I mean, for me, I definitely think that having a goal, not only in your own personal aspirations for the business, but also in like the marketing and the outreach, like the people that I've seen really thrive, like they blatantly went after tour merch and they built a shop that wasn't a print shop. It was a tour merch solution that was going to answer and solve problems that were not the norm and that most print shops would be totally freaked out about. You know, you have 48 hours, 3,000 units are being rushed in. You're organizing freight, you're organizing vans, you're organizing things that like normal shops are just not capable of. So I think creating that like go to market strategy and then presenting that to customers has been the thing that I've seen the most in like the ones that kind of skyrocketed and jumped away from the standard local print shop. And then I also think like the other thing that I see is customer service either through a team or through automations, where even if you are a small shop, you feel like you're responsive. So it doesn't even have to be me or one of my team reaching out saying, hey, your blanks arrived, everything's on schedule. But even just having that automation in place just makes people appear more professional, makes people not feel like they're in the dark. And then they're calling you a week and a half in saying, where's my order? So communication is a big deal breaker. I've seen where shops like they're capable of doing 3,000 units with one or two guys, but they piss off people. So even when they do the order on time, people don't want to come back because it was a pain in the ass.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I
So
think
I
you see
wanna
a couple of key examples of that in our. I think you
Go
see a
ahead.
couple of key examples in that in our industry, and they like pretty close to like our sphere. Like if you look at some of the biggest companies in the industry, the one that pop off, like for example, Printavo. What did Bruce do really well? He communicated really well, in my
Really
opinion,
well.
from
Yep.
from outside looking in, right? And a lot of us know Ryan Moore. He communicated really well, so that was his superpower. I actually think being a great communicator is the true unlock of like even if you're a great manager, you're still gonna have a cap because you're not able to pass the message out to the public. But people that could communicate really well, they're charismatic and stuff like that, is like, that's, you could grow a business just by communicating clear and well.
Amen. And two great examples, the two guys I look up to for that exact reason, their communication style, how they are with people, their culture building abilities, that for both of them seems like it is natural. I know they both have put a lot of work into it, but that's how good it is. It seems natural.
Yeah, both of them I've known. I mean, Ryan at least 10 years, and Bruce kind of close to that long. And even being around them for long periods of time, I have never seen them mad. Maybe you can tell me about a stressed out Bruce working with him, but I don't see them snapping or stressed or storming off. They're so even handed in their communication with employees, with customers. It is truly a superpower watching them deal with like their day to day. They're always
Bruce is a Boy
grinding, but they
Scout, for
don't
the
seem
record,
stressed
through
out.
and through.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
he's. Bruce is at my wedding. I've tried to get him drunk. I've gotten him drunk. He is always that same Boy Scout at
Yeah.
every moment, always. And it's like, how? Like, let me shake like a little like out of you. Nothing. He is just who. When you talk to Bruce for 5 minutes, that is who Bruce truly is. He's one of the few examples in my life where I'm like, this dude is as pure of a human as I think it gets. Which is almost annoying. You're like, just don't be perfect. But he works hard. He deserves it. He's a great guy.
So I want to definitely get into some of the AI stuff because you made a mark in the industry with Screen Print GPT, and I want to hear about like what your goal with that is, but also where you see some of the future for print shops. So let's get into that. Like, what is the general overview of Screen Print GPT, and what is the goal behind it?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So another one of the things that I'm lucky enough to be working on is screenprintgpt.com. And this was also, it's kind of funny. This started on accident, if I can be honest with you guys. What I have been doing for a long time is working with ChatGPT since it came out, like within the first like month or so, right? I was on ChatGPT when it was still an infant. It could barely do anything. And I've been utilizing it every single day since they released it. And I was one of the probably millions of super nerds watching the OpenAI Dev Day when they announced that they were offering the ability to create custom GPTs. And so because I was already super deep into ChatGPT, I jumped right into it. And so the first thing I thought of was, well, I probably get somewhere between 5 to 30 calls a week asking about something screen printing related, right? Just because all the shops I've been into, I've been a consultant for a lot. And so I went in and started just typing out the questions that I get asked a lot and typing out the answers. Then I went and was like, well, I've run a couple shops. I've created SOPs. Those are mine. Let me go grab my old SOPs. Let me feed this in. Okay, how can I train this to understand what's in the SOP better? And I went into a rabbit hole of just kind of like exciting new frontier and was just feeding the beast and then talking to it and then fixing it, then talking to it, then fixing it. Spent a bunch of time doing that. Honestly, probably a good 20 hours of straight actually working on the GPT, how it was responding, how it was looking at the data, and feeding it more and more data. And then got to a spot where I could actually ask it pretty complex questions about how to sequence a job, if I'm trying to do a multicolor puff, like complex stuff. And it was giving really good answers. So one of my good friends, Ryan Kasperian, Covered in Ink, fantastic consultants, known him for a long time, great human, fellow Chicagoan too. So got not anymore, but was originally. Hit him up and had him test it out. And he was like, what? How is this answering questions as well as I would? And so that was kind of like my first like validation of like, oh, okay. And so I kind of talked to some other people that I admire and respect and look up to and had them kind of do the same thing. And so kind of realized I had something. And so talked about it with Bruce and Steven for Printava Podcast. And then was working with Dylan and Andy over at Shirt Show. And was trying to figure out a way to get it to people. The problem was that it was $20 a month to use it because you could only access custom GPTs on ChatGPT if you're a plus member, which is like 20, maybe it's $21 now, something like that, 20 bucks a month. And so the problem I was having is I wanted this to be something that everybody could use, but it was already a $20 barrier. And some people were like, oh, I could use some advice from Screen Print GPT, but I got to spend 20 bucks a month to get to it. I don't know how to use ChatGPT. There's a whole new barrier of I'm scared how to do that. Never mind, right? And I didn't like that. I wanted it to be an option for anybody that's a new print shop to use, right? Think about going back to Facebook. Like, people go on Facebook to ask somebody in these chat rooms, hey, how do I do this? Then you got like 8 people tearing them apart for asking a question that according to those people, make them dumb for asking.
Right.
No, your attitude's dumb. They're in the right place to ask, right? And so I can't stand Facebook. To me, it's a toilet of just toxicity swirling. Not for me. I should be on there. I know I should be on there. Stream, we're making a closed group I have to now actually be part of, which is what it is. But I don't like Facebook for that reason. It's a toxic place where you usually get someone's biased opinion, or you get made fun of for asking a simple question. And so I wanted to solve that. And that's really became kind of my journey, is like make a safe space to get a real answer with no bias. And so I was actually having dinner with Peter Walsh from M&R and Dylan, Upstate Merge Shirt Show. And I kind of had an aha moment when eating dinner with Peter from M&R. I was like, well, I don't want to make users pay for it. It's 20 bucks a month to get on ChatGPT. In my opinion, everybody should be doing that anyways. But how do I get it so people can use this and not pay? And literally looking at M&R across the table, I realized they've got money, right? So I literally pitched it to Peter Walsh right then. Poor guy's like eating his lasagna. And I'm like, I got a pitch for you, Peter. He's like, I thought we were just hanging out. And so I pitched him the idea that I'm going to have a website. I'm going to use the OpenAI API. I'm going to build a smart chatbot that I'm going to load with all sorts of data and keep adding more and more data. I'm going to train to not have a bias, to not give an opinion. It's going to be a safe space for anybody to ask an unbiased question about the screen printing industry. And then I wanted M&R to be a sponsor, but I also wanted Rock to be a sponsor. And I also wanted, and I just kind of went through a list, and I'm like, if they're a real manufacturer, they're a leader in the space, I want them to be a sponsor, even if their co-sponsors are kind of competitors. Mm-hmm. And he literally said, done. And I was like, oh, what? And so I then went back home and got on a ChatGPT and spent the next like 3 days talking to it and getting more advice on how to build a business out of it. And then used it to actually build the pitch decks that I then created. I built pitch decks for each sponsor, kind of explaining what I was hoping to achieve, why I wanted them to help. And then sent out a custom video with the pitch deck to every single sponsor, and got like 90% yeses from the people I went out to, which was also kind of like oh no, now I have to do it. Because the yeses also came with financial backing for the tech stack and the API and all the stuff that's going to need to build this out. And this was right before Long Beach, and I would like 3 weeks of like, okay, they said, yes, Long Beach is in 3 weeks. I have to now build all of that. Luckily, I'd already done a lot of getting the data concise, bringing it all in, had gone through years of different PDFs, scraped them, made them a little more able to be read by the AI. And then put it all together and got it launched in time for Long Beach. So that's kind of where it came from. The problem I'm trying to solve is, again, the online forums of getting berated or having a bias. And I mean no disrespect. I know a lot of fantastic salespeople and technicians, but everyone's going to have a bias, right? You ask me what's the best ink, I'm going to tell you the ink that I'm currently using. Doesn't mean I think it's the best ink. It's just going to be my natural response because I have a recency bias. I'm using it. It works well, right? Mm-hmm. So taking out bias and just getting real, raw data responses was the goal. Now I'm growing that even further, right? So if you go to screenprintgpt.com, it's a free login, right? Free membership. and you'll have access to the AI chat. And I'm starting to actually work with the sponsors to create a bias chat, right? So, example, I was showing at M&R. I was at the Shirt Show Spring Break at M&R, and I was showing the new M&R chat I'm working on. It's actually loaded up with M&R user manuals, support data, documentation. So a M&R specific. So if you have an M&R press, you could always go to that chat and actually ask it about stuff. I can't find my manual. What's my weekly maintenance? Boom, there's the answer. How do I do it? Boom, there's the answer, right? Give you the answer where it needs to be, which is also great on your phone, by the way, right? So it's right where you need it to be. So working with each of those sponsors then to build out more of that and kind of keep going down this rabbit hole of how can AI help give answers to your team and make you more agile, right? And also support you in your business. We were talking about all these business decisions you have to make at a print shop, right? You're accidentally a business person sometimes, right? You can also use ScreenPrint GPT for, hey, help me create a marketing structure for my Instagram social ads for this month. Help me create a sale for this. Help me create a pitch for that, right? And it already understands screen printing at a whole. And in every side-by-side test that I do of standard ChatGPT versus ScreenPrint GPT, it always kicks its butt, right? And I am frequently excited when I have people that online can sometimes be naysayers, literally DM me, be like, dude, just side-by-side, and yeah, yours was better. And they were like trying to go prove it wrong. So it gets smarter, it's learning. So the current iteration, to your question, Cole, is growing that out, right? Getting it to be more. And I'm also adding in more tools. It's not just going to be only the AI chat. I now have 2 other free tools that are on there, and I'm going to keep building those tools out. We all see print shops that struggle with different things. So I'm trying to create free solutions for those different struggles. The 2 that are currently on there is one is a calculator, right? So if you want to have on your website a space where someone can be like, cool, I don't really want to quote, I just want to roughly know your pricing. You can just tell them, okay, what are you looking for? A basic tee, a premium tee, a hoodie, how many color first location, how many color second location, rough estimate, there's a dollar amount, right? So kind of get some of the people who are quoting you, at least at my shops happens, right? We get an email, they're not really looking for a quote, they're pricing us out. So now I got to spend 5 minutes doing something for them that I'll never see again. That happens over and over again. So I created this little calculator online using ChatGPT, right?
Mm-hmm.
It helped me code and do that. And so I realized other shops would want this too. So then you worked with a developer and we made a uploader where you put in your pricing, you choose your shirts, your cost, and it'll actually give you the code to put on your own website. It's your own custom calculator. I got a video on how to do that. And then as another one that we just released, that's a embroidery stitch rate and runtime calculator, letting you know, okay, you don't know how many stitch counts it is. You can send it out to digitize, or what's the dimensions? 3x5 and 80% coverage. Cool. Here's the estimated stitch rate. How long will it take to run? Here's your estimated time, right? So giving people answers. A lot of salespeople are like, I don't know. I got to wait for it to be digitized before I can actually quote you. Well, I'm not going to let you quote me until I know what we're quoting, right? So it turns into this little chasing game. So trying to solve problems wherever they kind of show up. So it'll be this continuously growing place for help, solutions, and honest answers, really.
That's awesome. I mean, getting so used to making, like a data-driven chatbot, have you considered or are you already working on integrating it in your own print shop? Because the thing that I always kind of wanted to do was have those basic customer service questions be answered inside of a chatbot before I had one of those scripted ones that was okay-ish, but it ultimately was just filling out an order form. What's your experience been trying to like evolve this into your print shop to limit some of that customer service time?
Yeah, that is what I'm working on right now too, is working with the different AI models that are out there, because there's more than just the one you are aware of, OpenAI, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's Llama, there's Meta, there's all sorts of different ones to play with, and trying to work out a way where it's more than just a communications tool. Like you say, a lot of them are kind of out of the box, where it's like, cool, we'll just ask these questions, we'll fill out an order form. That's not going to feel like a human element, right? They could have probably gotten that somewhere else on the web page. Having a human element that feels human and feels like they're actually engaging and trying to really create a journey not just create an outcome, right? So that's where I'm working with. The one that I'm working on now for my website is getting it to a spot where they can just start right there. And for all intents and purposes, it feels like me from Sound and Fury talking to you, potential customer, and crafting a journey, taking you on that journey to understand who you are, why you're here, how we can serve you, getting a quote, putting it together. So a lot of that right now is temperature modeling, and then understanding how it's going to respond to different things and not make it feel like a robot. And then tying in potential API actions to try to actually connect that to, as it answers questions from that person, that it actually then enters into. My shop uses Printavo. There's other platforms too. My shop uses Printavo, be able to actually generate a quote and start to fill in the answers on that and not just make it feel like a form entry bot, right?
Right.
To really try to automate that process, craft the journey, make an experience, and save some time in the process of automating that process. So once I have it where I'm good with it, I will definitely be posting it onto my website and then asking you guys to go beat it up, asking some people to go beat it up and kind of case test it out. I do think that AI chats, and this is going to be a little bit of a wild jump here, but I might be crazy. I think AI chats are going to take over websites in the next 5 years. I don't believe having multiple pages on a website is going to be something that we see much more a couple of years into the future. I think it's going to be a lot more AI driven of, okay, what are you trying to do? And just have maybe a button, this, that, and it just takes you where you got to go and it helps you achieve your outcome faster. And AI conversations to get that data. So I'm looking at how can I get AI chats into more print shops to alleviate a lot of the bogged down process, the people, the talking, order entry, all that kind of stuff to kind of automate those things and give people a fighting chance too as AI starts to lean out the workforce.
Yeah, I mean, my fear about that, that I'm starting to see a little bit in Google, and I've also seen like OpenAI do some of it, is they have these relationships where, I mean, Shopify's done this for years, where it's like approved vendors for a specific outcome. So you could have a situation where you put into Google search 50 custom t-shirts near me, and then the AI search result, which they've started doing, will say, blah, 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 can have these ready to you in 48 hours for $6.99. Would you like to buy it? And they haven't even left Google search. Forget your SEO, forget your website that's ranked number 7 in your local market. It's just going to auto go to Rush Order Tees or Custom Ink or someone huge. And you see that in YouTube, you see that on Shopify, where preferred vendors are a very small list. And then, people like influencers, they're just like not even going to hassle with anyone that can't be listed on that YouTube row or whatever. And so I wonder how that'll play out where like the AI's recommendation becomes the Bible.
Yeah, legitimate. I've kind of wondered if there's going to be a new AI SEO where based off of how much AI is being utilized within a company, if it renders a different SEO for that, if AI tends to favor AI. And I mean, part of that's going to be on it to decide too. It's definitely, I mean, I've gone on the rabbit hole of like, what could AI turn into? And it's terrifying. But it's not going to stop. It's everyone's investing heavily into it. I was reading that X Twitter now is $6 billion in raised funding for its AI. I mean, there's rumors of Apple talking with OpenAI to have it help power Siri. They were in talks with Google recently for the same thing and Microsoft. So, I mean, when you're seeing some of these big competitors trying to say, okay, let's build a bridge here because of AI needs, it's going to become everything. It's going to take over. And that's also part of why I want to keep focusing on what I can with Screen Print GPT to bring tools and solutions to people who wouldn't on their own and might get left behind, right? And hopefully find use cases that I can help give to people that keeps them kind of keeping up, right? And what that fully means, I don't even know. Well, we're going to discover it together as AI keeps evolving and the singularity keeps getting crazier.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting to have that like fully integrated thing where there's AI agents that can like create tasks for you. I mean, you've kind of seen demos where it's like, hey Siri, book a flight to. Don't actually do it. Book a flight to Singapore on this date, and then it on the lowest level we've seen it where like it'll open the app and like show you your dates. So as those autonomous agents start to rise in the next year or two, it'll be crazy to see who actually wins those integrations. So it'll be fun to see it, but it'll also be a little terrifying. And I think the thing that'll die the fastest is probably SEO, because people's SEO that they've been surviving on for years and years is becoming more and more worthless. And it's too easy to spam SEO now. You can just spam SEO for absolutely anything you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's another thing to use ChatGPT for is you can actually use it to help you craft optimum SEO. You can go Google search something, the top result, take its link, take it to ChatGPT, have it figure out its SEO rankings with different SEO plugins you can get to the store, and then you can literally rip off their SEO formula so you start to rank higher in SEO too. You're right; it is definitely not what it used to be, and it's going to keep changing, which is interesting. I don't know. I look at these things and I'm not so doom and gloom about it. I look at it as like, okay, another new opportunity to learn some new stuff and figure it out and try to not feel like I'm behind the 8 ball, even though I'm probably always am going to be, right? But I don't know. I look at everything. You think about coal miners, right? They all lost their jobs because of natural gas. That's just what happened, right? We're in another state of massive change, right? We're going to have to all adapt and figure out how to become a part of it, with it, how to grow with this new AI. Which, what even is that, right? It's almost its own entity, right? So it's scary, but it's also kind of fun, exciting, and it's kind of sci-fi in the present. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm definitely keeping my finger on the pulse the best that I can, but man, it changes so rapidly. It's wild.
Yeah. Dude, it sounds like you're doing so much with Printavo, with your shop, Stream, what is
Screamer
it? Screen Crank
GPT.
GPT,
I think that's all of them.
DecoFlow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got them all.
I think so. Because DecoFlow also has Check-in, which is a monthly recurring revenue software solution that we have. That's a plugin for Printavo, and then we've got PressFlow, which is a free product we've released. So yeah, we got a couple things out there.
Yeah. So, question: where does most of your energy go, and what's next for Matt?
Most of my energy tries to stay with me to give to my family. Wife, 2 beautiful stepkids. So I try to hold the energy for them as much as I can. But other than that, I got a full-time job at Printavo, and I love it. It's honestly, I get to nerd out and help shops build process. So help their Printavo process, talk about why they're doing it, how they're doing it, introduce third-party automation platforms. I get to take a shop and kind of like help bring them to the modern state of what a print shop should be with its tech stack. And that's really rewarding, super rewarding, which is why people have asked, like, well, why don't you just leave Printavo and go chase these other things? Like, because this fills my cup. This is a lot of fun. And I've learned so much from my peers, from Bruce, from shops. What's next for me? Honestly, it's, I don't know. Like I said, my hobby's kind of turned into creating things and seeing where it goes. So I guess what's next is seeing where something goes. I mean, yeah, I don't know. In an ideal world, Stream blows up and that becomes where I have to start shifting focus on, which I love Printavo. I'd never like just leave Printavo. There'd always be a relationship and opportunity for work there. Too good of a platform, too good of a business, too good of people for me to ever just leave. But really, what's next is just me continuously trying to adapt, learn, grow, teach every single day. So I don't really know where. It's funny. I don't have my like 5 year. My 5 year is just to make sure that I'm 5 years better than I am right now. Which is, as long as every day I wake up and I'm willing to learn, I think we're always going to be better in 5 years, right? So I don't know what's next. What's next for you though, Gavin? I want to know that.
I think Cole and I, we spoke about that offline, in the process of making a major move right now, like literally a move. So doing that.
Nice.
Obviously, keep on building my venture, SEPS.io, building
Mm-hmm.
that up. Uh, it's actually, I actually try to challenge myself to stay focused, because there are, ways to get distracted. So stay focused. Even when the times are hard, even when other craziness is going on, try to stay as even as possible. So that's what my mind is. Um, let's see. I think I am starting to get a little bit distracted, honestly.
I feel that. I mean, I think we probably all have a little bit of ADHD, right?
Yeah.
I think that's part of what makes entrepreneurs entrepreneurial. Um, that is a hard one. Do you have any like tips or tricks that you find helps you kind of like clear the brain fog or kind of like diminish some of those side paths your brain goes on? Do you have any tips or tricks that you like to kind of help stay focused?
I think just my personality is like that, right? My personality is always just I don't do well juggling a bunch of things. So I know that's like it's already a disadvantage to try to juggle a bunch of things. So that's that's the trick. Just for example, like my wife, she'll be cooking, taking care of the kids, have her laptop open, try to do something. I'm like, are you crazy? I'm just gonna write this one email, and this email is probably gonna take me like 20 minutes, and I'm good. That's a win for me. So my thing is, I try to keep the day. I don't. I used to be a checklist guy where I check a bunch of things, and that used to be like a win for me if I could like check a whole bunch of things off my list. Now it's more about, can I do a couple of things, and I'm okay with that, right? So I think that's where I'm at now. Is just and I also did an exercise a while back. It's just like figuring out what is your purpose in life and what is your mission. That kind of just clear like your path, right? Where you want to head, and then you figure out it's only a couple of things that you have. Like there's like this beast in front of you that you gotta try to fight, and you have no energy for nothing else, right? So that kind of keeps you, at least for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Cole, what about you?
I mean, I'm terrible at that. I get so sucked
Same.
into whatever I'm doing at the moment that I'm like either desperately trying to knock out a task list, really quickly so I can go back to something else, or I'm completely in the zone of something and just blatantly like ignoring the rest of the problems. The one thing about being inside a shirt agency is that like it's way too easy for me to get sucked into like a problem on a press, or it's way too easy for me to be trapped on a phone call for 45 minutes. So I think like moving forward, I want to find a way or a position or something where I have like a sole focus. Whereas right now I'm like Cole from Shirt Agency who can do every job, but doesn't really do any of the jobs, but gets sucked into it. So I really want to evolve into something that's like a focused position where it's like all I do for 8 hours is this one thing instead of kind of constantly spinning around. So that's kind of my new goal is to
Do you think you'll
stop
be happy
spinning.
doing that though? Sometimes I kind of think like I think the same thing about me, but then I kind of wonder like if we actually it'd be like if the dog caught the car, like is
Yeah.
it actually catching the car they want or is it the chase? I almost worry like if I ever find that like settle down spot, will I just make it more hectic again? Because is that really what the real appeal? Which seems terrifying to admit out loud, but like it kind of almost seems like that's what I do to myself intentionally because it does get outcomes. It just means I like to make myself have to do too many things at once. I'm like Gavin's wife, where I'm like
Yeah.
making dinner, I got the computer, I'm on a Zoom call over here, like doing all that, and it's chaotic, but like I keep making it happen that way, right? So I almost wonder, Cole, like if you hit that spot where you can focus for
Yeah.
8 hours a day, will you, or will you still kind of?
I don't know. I mean, I'd want to focus in a field. It wouldn't mean that I would coast like I wouldn't do much. It would mean like Like, for
Oh, of
example,
course.
like I land a $30,000 order, right? I would love to have my focus the next morning be, let's find a whole nother $30,000 order. But the way it works inside a shirt agency is, let's make sure we don't F up a $30,000 order. And then I'm like getting sucked into, did purchasing go well? I'm double checking the receiving team. Oh, how is the printing going? Hey, these screens don't look like they're burned. Great. Just burn them again. Hey, now we're going to double check the ink colors. I don't love your Pantone. And so it's like, because I'm so sucked into it, I can't be like, no, I want
Mm,
another $30,000 order, because I'm so freaked
right,
out about
right.
like, it's probably a situation where it's like, I need a production manager or something, or I need to be the production manager and I need a salesperson. It's one of those kind of things. But it's also hard, like with our size, to pay for staff that's worth it. Like if you get a really legit guy, um, what are you starting at? 70K, and in California more, for like a guy that you can like truly walk away, know that he's totally on the same team, he's happy, he's not mad about the finances. You're like starting at 70K, and then you're like, okay, so does that grow the business 350 $40,000? Because by the time you're paying his salary and you're cutting out all your margin and stuff, it's like, does the business grow 400K by adding a guy who's worth 70K? So like that math has always kind of tripped me up.
Depends if you go chase those $30,000 orders again. You keep
Right,
chasing
yeah.
those, then it will. If you don't,
Then I actually have to pay for it. Yeah. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I think entrepreneurship is just, you get tired. Entrepreneurship is tiring if you do it for a long time. Because I remember I came from like a corporate thing, and for a decade, I've never had to worry about a paycheck. Like every 2 weeks, I would get a solid paycheck.
Hmm.
And entrepreneurship is not like that. You get a nice payday, and the next month you might, yeah. So that's super exhausting as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, and just having to deal with problem and like not being able to shut off your brain. Because when you work for a major corporation, even if you're making 100,000, 150,000, 200,000, you get to shut off because like at 5 p.m., that's their problem. Uh,
Hmm.
as an entrepreneur, even if you're making $50,000, it's your problem all
Right.
day.
And I don't know, maybe, I mean, I still have a full-time job. I don't shut off at 5, but that's partially more me and my role. And I think a lot of shops, though, a lot of businesses, the idea of being able to shut off has kind of gone away in the modern workday a little bit, which is a
Hmm.
bummer too. That's kind of the like you said, that's the exchange you get for being an entrepreneur is like, you hear people say like, I want to have my own job so I can set my own hours. Like, to what, daytime? Like you're not going to be able to set your own. You work for yourself. You're always working.
Yeah.
So there is a bit of an exchange there of what's really valuable to you. And honestly, I've met a lot of business owners and shop owners that I think they would be happier if they were just running somebody else's shop. I think they should stop pretending to play business person. Just go be a great production manager, great operations
Yeah.
manager, great salesperson. And I think that some people think that's a negative, like they're downgrading. I think that if you're struggling in certain lanes and you've got a really strong lane, like Cole has talked about, like if your lane's going to get $30,000 jobs and your lane is not doing this other stuff, maybe those other people should say, screw trying to run all 6 of these lanes. I'm going to go work for you and I'm just going to kick ass in this lane. And I think
Yeah.
that people are almost afraid to do that sometimes, which they shouldn't be.
Yeah, man, we could talk all day. I know Cole's got a call he's got to go take. Matt, tell everybody about just recap what Stream is. How could folks get in touch with you? Like,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
what's the contact info?
Best way to keep in touch with everything that I'm working on is to follow me on Instagram. Shameless plug there. So marcotte.ink, INK. On Instagram, you're going to be able to see everything about DecoFlow, my updates with Stream, any updates with Screen Print GPT, where I'm traveling in the country for Printavo, what Sound and Fury is up to. So that's the best place to keep in touch. To learn more about Stream, go to dtf.stream. Just that, dtf.stream. That'll take you to the landing page. Right now, you can sign up to be on the launch access day. So it's just sign up to be on the list. So once we launch it, you can be notified. And definitely go make a free membership with screenprintgpt.com. Start playing with the AI. Feel free to hit me up, DM me anytime on marcotte.ink with industry questions, ideas, problems you have that I can kind of maybe help make solutions for. You want to go far, go together. So let's all go together as far as we can. So Marcotte.inc is the best place to reach out.
Awesome. Well,
Let's
thanks
go.
so much again, Matt. Everybody, thanks for listening. Please like, subscribe, and tell your mom about us. And we'll see you next time. Bye.